Life lesson that's based on expression and sensitivity creates many different challenges in a person's life. I'm Bill Heinrich with True Life Purpose Now. Pay attention to these. These are the challenges, the dysfunctions that you live with when you have expression or sensitivity, or the combination of those two as your life lesson. Somebody that has expression as their life lesson will have a tendency to be inappropriately expressing themselves. Problems often arise from words expressed inappropriately. They either say too much or they say too little. Now, that's a big statement, saying too much or saying too little. Saying too much is feeling like you're never heard. Saying too little is because you're afraid to have a voice. You're abandoning yourself. Misuse of words and images. While your while the primary tool, words, can be abused, misconstrued, or used to talk their way out of problems that they may have caused. So they're using their expression to control and manipulate. Or incessant talking, a tendency to talk constantly without giving others a chance to speak. Or they're just generally outspoken, blurting things out. Just the opposite of that, where they have fear of expression. Conversely, they may be afraid to express themselves at all, or they become overly concerned with the perception that they're creating, being overly worried about how others are going to perceive or understand them. They have poor listening skills, struggling to listen for understanding, often just waiting for their turn to speak, which can be seen as very shallow. They would have a tendency for repetitive communication, constantly repeating the same old stories, sound bites, mannerisms, suggesting that they're stuck in the past, but they're just trying to say something that's safe to them, even though it's not helping and in many times can be aggravating. They may feign interest, pretend to listen when they're out of their depth, waiting for an opportunity to change the subject because they can't keep up, because they're just the true communication's getting destroyed because they feel like they're in over their head and want to get away from a sensitive or deeply expressive conversation. Sometimes it's just a need to be right. A fear of being wrong can stop communication in its tracks, preventing you from learning new things. There's emotional and inner challenges when you have expression and sensitivity as your life lesson. Difficulty expressing your feelings. You tend to talk about what you know rather than how you feel. You make it hard for others to get to know you on a deeper level, or they'll play down the emotions because they're afraid of their sensitivity. It's a tendency to give the impression everything's okay when the problems are obvious, which can confuse them and those people close to them. Oh, I'm fine. How many times have you heard that? Keeping up appearances. When you have expression and sensitivity as a life lesson, you're notorious for maintaining a facade that's often driven by a desire for popularity and social acceptance. It feels like it's your way to get love, but what you're really in is an emotional con game. Maybe there's a fear of losing friendships, hiding true feelings or problems from friends due to the fear of burdening them and losing their friendship. Or they're afraid of being too serious, self seriousness, finding it hard to take themselves seriously due to the fear of what other people will think, how they will judge them. This stems from a belief that they're not worthy of joy or of who they truly are. They're actually abandoning themselves. Emotional intensity and fear. They're afraid of their own intense emotions, leading to suppression or superficial delays. Or they'll mask sadness and anger with humor. That was my specialty. I use humor to cover my sadness and anger, using humor, cynicism, or exaggerated happiness to camouflage the buried sadness, grief, anger, and fear, it preventing them from true happiness. Looking for love by getting acceptance, making other people laugh, even though you're just dying inside. Self consciousness, a significant driver of many behaviors, leads to stifled imagination and difficulty focusing because you're too self conscious. You may be hypersensitive to criticism. Remember, this life lesson is with expression and sensitivity. And this is a hypersensitivity to criticism and affected by criticism, taking comments too personally, potentially leading them to withdraw or have negative expressions or speak out negatively. Also, emotional volatility, mood swings, prone to strong, changeable emotions, especially if they're creatively blocked or they don't feel supported. There could be very big mood swings. There's also behavioral and lifestyle challenges, scattered energies, lack of focus, tend to spread their energies in too many directions, struggle to concentrate on one thing, and have difficulty finishing projects. Procrastination, prone to putting things off, or they're disorganized and undisciplined. They struggle with organization and discipline, and it leads to chaos in their life. Or they take on too much, overly optimistic, and they may commit to too many things at once, leading to overwhelm and burnout. Being superficial, they give the appearance of being superficial, especially due to a focus on external appearances and the desire to please other people. Criticism of others, a tendency to criticize, especially regarding the appearance of other people, which can hurt others, push friends away because they need to protect themselves and because they're so sensitive and their expression is off. They're coming from a judgmental place. They're worrying about others' opinions, significant source of unhappiness, stifling their imagination and originality, the inability to tolerate silence. They will talk incessantly to fill silent voids because of their self consciousness and how uncomfortable they are. They get stuck in time warps, clinging to outdated people, beliefs, and styles due to unexpressed emotions. They go with what they know and what feels safe to them. They, they'd be wasting their potential. Despite having immense creative potential, they're prone to wasting it. They're unwilling to learn or adjust or to take themselves too seriously. And they may be prone to overindulgence, various pleasures if their need for freedom overwhelms other priorities, and a real difficulty with commitment. They may struggle with commitment in tasks, goals, or relationships due to a love for excitement and variety. So, expression and sensitivity covers a wide range in your life of areas that it'll create problems when you have this as a life lesson. Remember, if you have it as a life lesson, you have blind spots in these areas and you just respond that way because you don't know any better. You can't see, you have no concept or connection to how to be expressed properly, and you're too sensitive in general to other people's comments. So you're always walking around feeling like you're getting picked on. You'd be saying things to protect yourself and to cover up. It's just a constant cycle that will keep you immensely unhappy, immensely unhappy. And it's a blind spot, a life lesson that you're here to learn. So if you want to know more about your life lessons, because there's 37 different life lesson paths, I'm Bill Heinrich with True Life Purpose Now. Go to speaktobill.com and you can get on my calendar.